Trojan fans, welcome to another edition of the Peristyle Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Abraham, joined alongside my buddy Triple Double, Connor Morrissette. We both coming at you from USCfootball.com and our podcast we do every week. No India Auto this week. She's on secret assignment back in our homeland, Connor. She's back in Massachusetts, but welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, we miss India, but good to be with you. Good to have football this week after an off weekend. Got to get this team back on track after that disappointing defeat to Notre Dame and big road game against Nebraska. We got a lot to get into today.
We got a lot to get into, and it's good to be back in studio. And, yeah, we're going to miss India. Mark's one of the first guys in the chat. Hello. He says, hello, Ryan, Triple Double. Yeah, we are live on YouTube and Facebook. So if you want to follow us along live on video, that's awesome. But we're also, of course, across all the different podcasting platforms. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to the Peristyle Podcast. You can leave us a 5-star rating and review. We love all that. Wherever you get the show. If you have email questions for us, podcast@uscfootball.com. And you can also text us a question or leave us a voicemail, 424-254-9141. I do want to tell you guys, our friends over at MyBookie have been helping us out. There's a promo code there, Peristyle, so make sure you check that out. If you use that, you're going to get a bet back bonus token for the new users over there. What that means is you can go into the system, place a bet for up to $500, and if you get it wrong, you get it back. So it's like a redo. So it's the promo code is Peristyle, and that's for a bet back bonus token. I don't know. You guys might get into the NFL. I know you're a big, a fantasy guy, Connor. Me too. But you want to wait till Sunday to start betting. You're going to miss half the fun. I've not been good picking the USC games, so don't listen to me. It's been bad. I've been decent at the Big Ten games, bad at USC. Connor, you've not been the greatest either at those.
No,
right?
I'm under 500, 3-4. So why is anyone listening to the show? I'm just kidding.
Just go against us or whatever. If you want to fade us, if you want to bet that, USC on the road, they're like a 6-point favorite. I don't know what you want to think this weekend, but it's cooking in college football. There's Big Ten stuff. There's the SEC, Group of 5, wherever you want to get to. There's blowouts, upsets, covers. MyBookie will let you hit on it all. There's game lines, player props, and more. Everything you need before the pros even kick off. So when Sunday rolls around, you're already going to be up if you don't listen to us. So they got it all under one roof with MyBookie. You can win big with the NFL Super Contest, and they got survivor pools as well. And like I mentioned, use the promo code Peristyle, and you can get that bet back bonus token, and your first bet up to $500 will be given back to you if you get it wrong. Don't get it wrong, but if you do, it's like a redo, which is great. MyBookie, where bettors win together, because bragging's good, but cashing is better. All right, thanks to our friends over there. And, we want to get into it with you, Connor. It was a bye week. Second bye week. Weird, right? Because it was only 2 weeks ago you had another bye week.
Yeah, it's just weird to not have 2 games in October.
USC had the road loss going into the bye week. Yeah, 2 games in October is like, what the heck's going on with that? Another road loss, this one at Notre Dame. A little more painful just because it was a 10-point loss and wasn't like a last-second field goal or anything like that. USC did bounce back in the previous one, came in and got a really good win over Michigan, and couldn't stack. They say stacking days. They didn't stack any games. Like they had a good game and then a crappy one after that. Let Notre Dame run for 306 yards and Jeremiah Love setting records and all that kind of stuff. And got to bounce back though. He got Nebraska. And I don't know the travel thing, we can talk about it, but my morning, Connor, just to let you know, we're in Southern California, right? Like we both moved here from the East Coast, me a long time ago. I went down, played some beach volleyball with some buddies, get a little sweaty, get a little sandy, jump in the ocean, hanging around, like looking at birds and fish and stuff. And there's boats going by. You're like, this is pretty freaking cool. I'm like, in 2 days, I'm going to be flying to Nebraska, and I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm probably wearing gloves. I don't know, man. I'm not getting the juju, the good vibes. I'm not getting it for this one. I'm feeling like Southern California is like, okay, you got to go another trip, another Midwestern trip. Are these guys ready for it? I'm not sure. That was like my just long intro rant, but hello.
Hello. I think coming off the bye helps after the last one. We saw the evidence of what USC was able to do after the week off prior to beating Michigan, but it's hard to give this team the benefit of the doubt on the road against a quality team. Nebraska has its faults, clearly. They allowed 9 sacks against Minnesota in an ugly game a couple weeks ago, bounced back with a 7-point win over Northwestern. Northwestern had a chance at the end to potentially tie that game or even win that game. Nebraska's defense held on. There could have been a hold at the end that wasn't called. A lot of Big Ten referee talk this year. But anyway, the matchup, Brian, a lot of it, I think, favors USC going into this week, where Nebraska doesn't pressure the quarterback at a high rate. They only had 9 quarterback pressures against Northwestern. They're very good in pass coverage, but they haven't played an offense close to as good as USC's. Jaden Mayava is going to have time, and that will allow Mekhi Lemon, Jacoby Lane, Tanu Kynes, the tight ends. Those guys will get open. Nebraska isn't great against the run, which on paper for USC is their weaker point right now, so that should help King Miller. That should help Brian Jackson. That should help the offensive line. On the other side, USC isn't going against Luke Altmaier, a quarterback who, yes, I was critical of before that USC game, but as an experienced guy with some weapons, he was able to outscore USC. Nebraska, they have a great running game with Emmett Johnson, but I struggle to see, even with the past coverage issues that USC has had, I don't know if Dylan Raiola is the guy that can outscore USC even at home. So I like a lot of things on paper with this matchup with USC, but I go back to what I said at the beginning. It's very hard to give this team the benefit of the doubt on the road after what we've seen the last year and a half. And Nebraska's going to be a tough place to play. It's a night game. Temperature will be a little bit lower.
Yeah.
So there's some elements that I like, and that's to your point, leaving this beautiful place where it's a heat wave right now, over 90 degrees today. A little too hot for me this week. But
yeah.
Anyway, it should be a good spot for them, but I'm with you. It's hard to say for sure. Oh, yeah, I think they got a great chance. I think they'll win by 3. That's kind of where I'm at, but
okay.
I get why you would have some hesitations on that.
Brian says game will be upper 30s, bit nipply.
Yeah.
And he says, you're in L.A. Oh, I'm sorry. You're in L.A. This is Coach Foster all of a sudden. Yeah, he's telling everyone I'm in L.A. I just want to let you know. I was swimming in the ocean this morning playing beach volleyball, and then we're going to go,
I think Brian had a comment on Instant yesterday because Chris and I were talking about the weather. He told us to buck up.
Buck up. Jeff says gloves and a Cracker Barrel jacket. Yes, I will definitely be bringing the Cracker Barrel jacket. Hopefully it's not raining. It didn't do well in getting wet. It just stays wet. It's not like a rain kind of jacket.
So it should be perfect for
I think it's going to be
Saturday.
perfect for this weather. So it's undefeated in Big Ten road games. So it lost at Notre Dame and stuff. But Blackie Chan in the chat says, fight on, Trojan fam. Yeah, it was good.
It sounds like you're concerned about the travel and the weather, and that's been a big talking point. And I know I kind of pivoted to some of the matchup stuff, but to your point, isn't it like it's kind of disappointing that is such a big concern when this was a move that USC now in its second year in the Big Ten like this? You're always going to have games like this. Like it's
right.
It's unfortunate that that's such a storyline and an excuse. Let's call it what it is. That it is in some ways an excuse.
Yeah, no, and I'm not until I see them play well on the road. Like I think we saw the Michigan game, and you're like, I certainly see a team that's capable of doing that can make some big defensive plays. Obviously, move the football, run the ball well. Do some. Jaden Mayava is the only quarterback in the country averaging over 10 yards per attempt. So it's pretty special. That's every time he drops back the pass, it's averaging a first down. The only quarterback in the country to do that. And we saw them put that together. But then, he completes like 50-something% of his passes against Notre Dame. They couldn't run the ball. When the offense wasn't balanced, it just didn't work well. I don't think Nebraska can do the same kind of things. But we've just seen this team, for whatever reason, not play anywhere near that, their standard. And it just feels like, there's a high water mark. And at home, you can get close to that. And on the road, it's like you're struggling to just be average. And I don't know why that is. And, having gone on every road trip, like I'm not looking forward to getting on a plane on Friday, like I'm just not. Now I'm a 54-year-old guy and these guys are in shape. You're a lot younger than me, Connor, but like, it's like we flew to Chicago and then drove a couple hours. We flew to Indianapolis, drove a couple hours. We flew to Chicago again, drove a couple hours. Now we're going to fly to Omaha and drive an hour or something. And, that's all in like a 5 or 6 week period. Like that kind of sucks, and for us, and I know it's quick for them, we're there less than 48 hours. So it's like, we can have some sort of fun on Friday or whatever. And then it just becomes work. And then you get up super early, like not a lot of sleep. So I think it's a different experience, but just covering these games has been kind of a slog. We're not digging ditches or anything, but I get it. Like, oh my God, you're going on a plane, going 2 time zones again. Like, that just, it gets old, I think.
So maybe I'm wrong to call it an excuse.
No, you're not wrong.
But I think there's a happy medium.
Yeah. I'm just telling you, for me personally, I'm like, last thing, like, I'm kind of looking forward to Oregon. Like, you don't have to.
Even that, you got to drive Portland to Eugene.
I know it's a couple-hour flight, but it's at least in the same time zone.
Yeah.
Like, you're not losing all this. Like, that just gets kind of old. Like, it's just like, that's a lot. And USC signed up for this. Like, you're going to get your $75 million, and but I could see it being like, ugh. But I don't think that's why you should be playing poorly. Like, if anything, like, I think we've coverage-wise, we've done really well. Like, I don't like going on this trip, but we haven't, like, instant stunk this time or whatever. Like, I think we're doing a good job of all of our stuff. We're doing our jobs on the road, so the team needs to do their freaking job on the road.
You're making some funny comparisons.
I'm in a weird mood today, Connor.
Yeah, me too. I get it.
I think last week I was in a really weird one. I went off last week.
It's the fall, I guess.
Yeah.
Another thing to watch, though. So before that Michigan game, the linebackers at Illinois didn't play particularly well, and then there was the bye week, and Desmond Stevens had, I think, the best game of his career against Michigan, and USC did a nice job of slowing their really good running game down. Justice Haynes getting hurt, of course, helped, but still, USC, they've had other running backs go off against them in the past. It was just nice to see them shut down the run, hold Michigan down. And then the linebacking core was pretty bad against Notre Dame. So how will it perform this week against Emmett Johnson? He's a tough-ass runner, man. He is one of the toughest running backs I've seen. His numbers are good to great, but, like, he fights for those extra yards. This is a huge game for the linebackers coming off of a disappointing defeat to Notre Dame. I don't think Emmett Johnson is quite as good as Jeremiah Love, but he's really tough, and that's going to be the key matchup for USC, because if you can slow down that running game, I have a hard time believing Nebraska can score enough through the air. Even though I like some of those receivers, it just comes down to the quarterback for me. Like, this should be a game where Jaden Mayava just outperforms his opposition and USC gets it done. But that's what should happen.
Yeah.
I
don't remember the last, since it's a bye week, just my memory's going. Like, did USC do okay against the run in their last game, or not really?
No, they
it
didn't.
was poor.
But Notre Dame's offensive line is better than Nebraska's. Nebraska has some injuries.
Notre Dame was missing their center.
Yes, we also thought Illinois offensive line was bad, and they
were bad leading up to the USC game, and that was their get right game.
Yeah, and then just from a big picture perspective, like, if USC wins against Nebraska on the road, like, I'm seeing people on our site say, oh, if they win, they were expected to win. If they lose, the sky's falling. They have nothing to gain from this. I think a win is absolutely a gain, because that shows clear progress from last season. I thought the Michigan game showed clear progress from a year ago, but that was at home. Now going up against a Nebraska team that is probably, a top 40 team in the country, just outside that top 25. They're solid. They're not great. But still, this is a team that USC did not beat a year ago. They're similar to Illinois to me. Like, this would show progress to me, even if it's not the prettiest win. You get out of Dodge with a victory, that's significant.
No, it is. It is significant. I just want to let people know, we got Facebook in the chat too. Mike says, discipline is such a big key for us. Makes such a big difference. Fight on. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I'm glad to get some people in the chat from Facebook. I know I'm trying to put up some comments from YouTube as we're going along. We did get a 5-star review from 260 Trojan, and this is for our buddy Chris, the Road Trip Pod. Just dealing with my bye week blues and consuming all the USC content I can before Nebraska, and love the style and idea of the Road Trip Pod with Chris. I was actually the one he interviewed after the Illinois game. Thanks for the free therapy, Chris. I will be in Nebraska, Section 31, Row 4, close to the field, and looking for you. And if you guys need a tailgate, we throw a big one. Plan on throwing one for Nebraska. Check us out on Instagram, Trojan Squad _Midwest, or at Trojan Squad, and at the Traveling Squad. Very cool. Thanks for the review. And Chris's road trip pods are great, because you can get a feel for what it's like on the road trip. He interviewed people at Notre Dame, like this guy that was like tailgating next to us, and that was a lot of fun to kind of see that. But he does a really good job with those.
He does.
So go check it out.
It's been a great addition.
Yeah, we love it. And just so everyone knows, we are doing, if you're going to Nebraska this weekend, we are doing a meetup. So it's a little different this week. We're not doing a Friday meetup because we're getting in sort of late into Omaha. But Lincoln, Nebraska, where the game is a 6:30 Central kickoff. We're going to do, starting at like noon, at Barry's, which is the biggest bar in the state of Nebraska. Barry's invited us in there. We're going to do a meetup starting at noon. It's a half a mile walk to the stadium from Barry's, so you can sort of do a pre-tailgate there if you want, or if you want to do the whole thing like leading up to the game, you can just hang out at Barry's. We'll be there from like noon, probably like 3 or something, and then we have to go over and go do some work. But we'll be there for a few hours. Should be a lot of USC fans there. We'll have some kind of section in the bar, and should be a lot of fun. But not a Friday night meetup, but we're going to do sort of a pre-tailgate meetup at Barry's, similar to what we did at Flanker over in Las Vegas when we had a bunch of games there. Flanker was a walkable bar from Allegiant Stadium, so we did that. So we will do that with Barry's. So Eric says, "Don't ignore me, Ryan." I'm not sure what did he. Oh, sorry. Hold on. He put a comment here. I guess I ignored him. He said, "Oh wait, I put the wrong one in." He says, "Can't wait to see you here in Link. Fight on." And also, how long will you guys be in Barry Saturday? Yeah, so we'll probably a few hours. I started that, so I was going to get to it later, but I guess I'll just get to it now. He said it's like 2 blocks from the stadium, so perfect. So we'll be there until we have to go in and work, but it should be a lot of fun.
I can't wait. I love these meetups. It's always nice to connect with people, and this should be a unique one, Ryan, like you said, before the game instead of that night before. Maybe a little bit more responsible for us before the game. Oh,
and so my buddy played football at Nebraska a long time ago. He was like a punter. And he has, his people all backed out. He has tickets to the game. I think it's 2 or 4 tickets. They're on the west side of the stadium around the 10-yard line. He would sell them for face value. So email me, Ryan, at uscfootball.com, and let me know. I'll text him how many tickets that he has. But, if you need tickets, just send me an email, and I'll set you up with my buddy Dave, and he's looking to get rid of his. So he'll be at the tailgate. He'll be at Barry. So if you need him, let me know, and I'll pass that along.
That's another perk of listening to our show. Hook you up with some tickets.
I'm doing that live. So he'll give you face value. He's a funny dude, big Nebraska guy. He played in the Osborne era, but I always joke, I was like, you were like a 4th string punter or something, but it's great. So he's fun to watch the game with, but he's going to come out there and stuff too. Before we do anything else, I do want to thank our sponsor, Trader Joe's, as well, because we love Trader Joe's. I told you this morning I was down at the beach, play a little volleyball, jumping in the ocean. I was hungry when I came back, Connor, and sometimes before the show, we're doing this at 12:30, we go live. So it's sort of like got to eat early lunch. I know you stopped and picked something up.
Yep.
I was like, I'm going to make something at home. I had my cup of tea I made. I get the tea over at Trader Joe's. And I always buy my eggs at Trader Joe's, and I buy my bacon at Trader Joe's. And so I cooked up some bacon, some of the grated Mexican cheese I get at Trader Joe's. So I just made some scrambled eggs. So if you don't do scrambled eggs well, just a little, if you have a nonstick pan, melt some butter in it and then pour the eggs in there. It cooks really fluffy on the butter. I like that a lot. And, just salt and pepper, cook the eggs a little bit. Then I put the cheese on, flip it around. And it's good stuff. So I had my full-on Trader Joe's breakfast, but it was the staples. It was bacon and eggs. It wasn't any of the crazy products with the funny names. It was just like so kind of a boring one today, but it was all Trader Joe's breakfast.
Any of the hash browns?
I didn't do it. I have some in the freezer, and I was like, I needed to kind of get here and there. Yeah, so I actually did the bacon in the microwave. So I cooked some yesterday, and I did it in the pan, and you get the grease, and then I fried some eggs in the bacon grease. It was cool. But today I wanted to do the scrambled eggs, so then I was like, well, I'll just do it, and it's pretty good. You can do it in the microwave too if you ever done it, but sort of cheating, I guess. But I've done the air fryer too. I like that as well.
Yeah, hey, when you're in a rush, you got some options.
Yeah, but I like the bacon at Trader Joe's. They have some different options, but the thick cut one, the maple, I like getting that one over there. Okay. Someone says, have you spoken on the rumors? Yeah, there's
What, all the coaching stuff?
Yeah, all the coaching stuff. Lincoln Riley he said Gator fans think Lincoln from SC. I don't know. Would Florida want to hire Lincoln Riley at this point? I don't know. But the coaching carousel is the craziest one I can remember, and it's not over. And there's all these big jobs are opening, meaning domino effect is going to be happening. You know, there's going to be this job, then this guy goes to here, and then they poach to this one. And there might be more big jobs opening too. You could have Auburn, Florida State, like all kinds of stuff. Like who knows what's going to happen. But this is really wacky season. And I think another reason, Connor, to make this how important this game is. We talked about the Michigan game being super important. You didn't want to see that performance against Notre Dame, but sort of expected. But now you got to get a win. You got to win on the road against Purdue. You need a decent win. And Purdue's kind of stunk since then. We thought they'd be pretty good. They've been fairly terrible. Nebraska's not terrible. They're 6-2. I think you want to go out and get a big win there. So it's a really important game to me. And the problem is if you lose this one, like whoever loses this, like Matt Rule, if Nebraska loses, like Matt Rule is not going to be talked about. Like, oh, is he going to go to Penn State or are they going to get rid of him? And on the USC side, they'll be like, oh, now they're 5-3, and you know what's going to happen. And you know, the Iowa looks good, and obviously Oregon does. So you sort of you want to stay away from like this black hole of coaching carousel talk, and you got to win this game. Otherwise, it's going to start creeping in. You know, that's another factor of this one.
Yeah, it's interesting to talk about because I think you're right. After the Notre Dame game, we did hear some stuff like fans are frustrated with what's happening at USC, despite the fact that they're 5-2. So it's interesting. They do have that number one class in 2026. I think the biggest frustration, Ryan, has been the inconsistencies on defense and just Lincoln Riley's historical track record of struggling on the defensive side of the ball. So I don't know what to make of the Riley to Florida stuff because I feel like half the fan base wants that to happen, and then the other half would be really sad that this number one recruiting class could potentially go up in smoke and USC would have to start over. They're kind of right in the middle where I think you just got to see it out. I think it would be a mistake unless the bottom totally falls out on the rest of the year to make a change. And if he goes voluntarily, he goes voluntarily. But I don't think there's any reason for him to be let go. It seems kind of crazy to even say that right now with USC being 5-2. The only way that would happen for me is if the bottom falls out and they go like 7-5. But I think they're a better team than that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So the question then becomes, will he leave on his own? And with the number one class, I have a hard time believing that. But there's so much that goes into it, and it's really hard to get to the playoff from the Big Ten and the SEC too.
Yes.
And the way Riley thrived in that old Big 12, like I know Baylor's come up with him at times, so that one would make sense. But I just have a hard time seeing him leave on his own volition. Yeah.
He's got a massive contract, and I think there's like $130 million of dead, like coach money this year. Like it's a record, and you know Kentucky could, you know, Stoops is going to get like $37 million like that day or within a month or something if they fire him. Some big numbers out there, you know, over 50 million. Like the second and third biggest ever have been in this cycle. Jimbo is still the biggest, but Riley would be bigger than that, or like right around Jimbo time right now. I don't know exactly what it would be, but pretty crazy. I think this is just one cycle that USC just needs to win games and maybe be a little disappointed at like an 8-4 or 9-3 season. But you don't want to be in this mess right now because it's chaos, and then you're going to be hiring in chaos. Now it's better to be a better job, and USC's up there with all of them, you know, like all the good ones, but it's not a time that you want to be looking for a coach, I think, right now. It's not the greatest market.
No.
Jeff says, bacon grease fried rice, man. Ooh, that sounds good. I love fried rice. I haven't really made fried rice. Have you made fried rice or anything?
Only the frozen stuff.
Yeah, I've done that, but like
Not made it myself.
If you go to like Benihana and they make it like in front of you and stuff, that's great. Yeah. I mean, I'll have to try the bacon grease fried rice.
But what do you think, Ryan? Like, say they do go 8-4, which is what we both picked at the beginning of the season. I think there would still be frustration, obviously.
There would.
But that's 2 games better than a year ago. It's not where you want to be in year 4. It just seems to me the best you can do is not waste money right now, I think. Like, you just need to be able to compete financially to get players. that's huge.
Yeah.
And so if you throw a bunch of money away to get rid of a coach after an 8-4 year when you have the number one class, like I'm all for doing everything you can to put yourself in the best possible situation. But I think with how everything's set up now, I just have a hard time seeing how that's in their best interest, especially with the performance center going up. And it's just a difficult thing, because I do think when he was hired in year 4, we all felt like things would be a little better. We've talked at length about why things are the way they are right now, but there were some big offseason moves, and things seem to be going in a better direction. It's just fascinating, because LSU, like if say USC loses to Nebraska, then if he was at LSU, he'd be gone, as we see with Brian Kelly. But I don't think USC is LSU.
Yeah.
You?
No. I think, yeah, the LSU's insane because they have the governor involved. Like that if you listen to any of the people talking about that know what's going on down there, it's pretty crazy. Just politics and things involved, and Scott Woodward being involved with, 2 of the biggest buyouts ever. I think with Jimbo Fisher and then with Brian Kelly. And he's the one that's given them these contracts, and like you have to buy them out, and like he might not be involved in the search. That's pretty nutty. USC's, I think, a little bit more stable. I mean, they don't have a president right now, and LSU doesn't either. They're getting a president soon. But USC has a strong athletic director. I think that would help. But I think this is not the best time. Like, you'd rather have a president. You'd rather have, I think you want to be fiscally responsible with the amount of money that's going out, the amount of money USC's putting into this recruiting class. And would some of that fall apart, and you've already paid people? I don't even know how some of that would work. I think
it's a freaking mess.
Ideally, this is not one. This is a dance you want to sit out. Okay, that girl's cute. But I'm not going to sit. I'm not going to go out on the dance floor this time. Like, this is one USC needs to be on the sidelines, and the best way to do that is just win games. So everyone wants that anyway. So just go win games. Don't lose at Nebraska. Don't lose to like Northwestern on a Friday night. Like, you can't have those kind of clunkers. So they put some pressure on USC. And I think your original point, 8-4, we both thought USC would be 8-4. But the way how elite this offense is, like I said, like Jane Mayava, number 1 in the country, yards per attempt. That's elite stuff. So you should win more games than what we expected. I think 8-4, you'd be like kind of, that was not great, but not like, okay, scramble to get a new coach. 7-5, like you I don't know if you could keep them. Like I think there'd be a ton of pressure. So like, just don't lose these games. Losing to Oregon, get it. Like you've lost to the 3 ranked teams on the road. If you go 9-3 outside of that, okay, whatever. You had some good home wins and 1 decent road win with Nebraska. If you can do all that, but you lose this one, you got another loss coming for sure at Oregon. If you can't beat Illinois and Nebraska and Notre Dame on the road, you're not beating Oregon on the road. And now it's like you have to win the rest of these. And so yeah, I think it's 8-4. We thought that's where USC would be, but seeing how good the offense is, it's more disappointing if that is what ended up happening.
It speaks to where USC is, that they're still in the hunt for the college football playoff. They would need to win out, but it's not like they're eliminated from it right now. And we're talking about potential coaching changes, and that just speaks to the defensive issues for me and just how the last couple years have been. It's pretty clear that they've had a tough time navigating the Big Ten under Riley, and that could be salvaged a little bit this year, especially if you go and beat Nebraska. That would be a big feather in their cap. But like, it's unique where the offense was really good that first year, and it's getting back to where it was under like the historical good Riley teams now this year. And I think the frustrating thing is, say they do go 8-4 and they finish with a really good offense, which it looks like that's going to happen. Like, yes, they'll get some better players and there could be some improvement down the line, but like Lincoln Riley's doing what he was brought here to do, and you're still not exactly getting the results you need. So I think that's kind of the missing thing here, where it's like there's some USC fans who say, oh, it's way too premature to be having this conversation. What are you talking about? But as the year goes on, if the offense continues to play well and the defense falters, it's like, okay, this is kind of just who Lincoln Riley is. He's doing what he was brought here to do, which is have a good offense. We've tried to make this defense work. It's not. And as time goes on, you just you are what you are. And if that continues, it's why, like, I understand the conversation being had, even though they're still technically in the race for the college football playoff. It's a unique spot to be.
I don't know if this is real, but we were just talking about this. Stuart Mandel tweeted, "God bless the state and school." So Liam Combs tweeted a quote from Jeff Landry, who do you think he's like? What? He's the governor of Louisiana. The governor of Louisiana said, this is a quote, I don't know, I hope this is real. I'd let POTUS, the president of the United States, pick the next LSU football coach before I let Scott Woodward pick him. Scott Woodward, if you don't know, is the athletic director at LSU, whose job is to pick the next head football coach. Now, like we mentioned, LSU doesn't have a president right now. Woodward has not been a guy traditionally who's used search firms. He makes big, splashy hires. They've kind of failed spectacularly. He's done some good hires that are non-football. That's a crazy thing for the governor to say. Can you imagine like Gavin Newsom talking about, I'm not going to let Jen Cohen pick the next US. Like it's
the UCLA. I'm not going to let Martin Jarman pick
yes.
the next UCLA head coach.
That's a better one. Yes. Is that so? This is real. I hope what I was real is real.
The guy doesn't have a lot of followers, but he's a political reporter. I think it's real.
Wow, that's freaking awesome that we were just talking about that and like, oh, okay. So, do you want to be involved in that right now? No. So, what do you got to do, Connor?
Win.
Go beat Nebraska. Like, I don't want to hear any excuses. Nothing. I don't care what the weather's like. I don't care what you're eating. Can we get rid of the food poisoning? Is it really, whatever? The travel, yes, I bitched about the travel earlier. It's your job. You're getting paid a lot of money, all of them. Like the coaches, go do this. I'm paying to go there and watch this crap. So, I'm paid for our whole team to go there and watch. I want to make sure it's better. Why am I sending 4 people on the road for all these games? We had 5 at like Purdue. What is going on? Go win a game. Go play well on the road. I don't want to hear any excuses, Connor.
I don't have any. I think they should win. I think that's a good matchup for them, even though they have not been good on the road. This is a game where that explosive offense should have some explosiveness. Nebraska, their defense is fine, but they don't pressure the quarterback. As I said, Jaden Mayava should have plenty of time, which will lead to guys getting open down the field, and the run should complement the pass. Defensively, it just comes down to stopping the run. That's the way I see it. If Raiola has a huge game against you, that would be disappointing for me. But if you slow down Emmett Johnson, that's the whole key.
Yeah.
And they are kind of one-dimensional in that way. They have some nice receivers. I like Isaiah Hunter, and Dane Keys is a good guy. But, like, Raiola, if you watched last game, he had an awful fumble on a 4th and 2 play where he just panicked, and then a pick where he didn't see the linebacker. And that's just kind of who he's been. He has not been that 5-star, can't-miss guy. He's kind of been a bust. That's probably too far, but he just hasn't been what you're hoping for. And I would be really disappointed if USC loses to a guy like that.
I 100% agree. Nebraska's pass defense, though, is pretty good. I think it's like under 5 yards an attempt.
Well, look who they've played. They've played
still
Northwestern. Are they known for their passing offense? No. Cincinnati, they've gotten better, but their quarterback had like 60
Cincinnati's
passing
good.
yards.
Yeah.
Akron, Houston Christian, Michigan, they can't throw the ball. Michigan State was good, but they're a dumpster fire. Maryland, not really that good. Decent passing attack, true freshman, I think, and they actually moved the ball pretty well. Minnesota, that was a tough game for them. They ran the ball more than they threw it. They just haven't played anyone like USC.
Yeah,
so.
That's true. That might be one of my keys, like yards per attempt. What does Jaden Mayava get against a good Nebraska defense? OC bodybuilders. LSU might hire the old president from Arizona that ran Arizona into a $250 million debt. That'll be fun. This is when he says, sit this coaching cycle out. I think it's really important to sit this one out. This is insanity. Even if you have a great search and like just a million weird things could happen. You just don't want to be involved in some crazy bidding war. And I'm curious to see what happens, Connor, because all these massive buyouts and guaranteed contracts, you hear people, they don't do this in the NFL. Like college football is like the only place that does it. And I've heard some analysts talk about, like, if you're, it might have been Andy Staples who was talking about this, but they were saying, like, if you have a marquee game in the NFL, it's like Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen, it's not about the coaches. In college, it's harder to do that because, guys, there's a lot of turnover. So it ends up being, Kirby Smart versus Lane Kiffin or whatever. Like that's the sort of the headline. So coaches are a much bigger part of it. But I was thinking that ADs were going to back off and say, okay, we're just not giving you all this guaranteed money anymore. And we're going to give you a 4 or 5 year contract instead of 10 years. But when so many jobs are open, then it becomes super competitive. Like Lane Kiffin might start making $13 million a year. And, cause all these people think he's the best option out there. It's kind of crazy. I was hoping it would sort of like back off, especially with you're paying the players now. But I think the coaching stuff, they're still going to sign these crazy contracts that are horrible for the schools, but they need to do it. They think they need to do it. And awesome for the coaches and mostly awesome for the agents.
Yeah, the demand is just so great, and that skews things. And it's too bad Billy Napier flamed out at Florida, because that was an example of a guy going from a smaller school in Louisiana, getting an opportunity, and then it didn't work out. And just putting this in a USC perspective, like USC went out and got the big name, and so that doesn't always work either. The thing that, like, we can sit here till we're blue in the face and talk about how, oh, it's not the right time, it's not the right time. It might not be on paper, but like it also could be. That's the crazy thing. You never know. You never know what the right hire is in the moment. I think most people thought Lincoln Riley at USC would lead to a lot of success, and if not the college football playoff annually, at least one appearance in these first 4 years, and that hasn't happened. Like, you never know what's going to happen. A lot of times the home run hire ends up being like a flyout, and the one who slaps a single down the line, and all of a sudden they steal second, they steal third. You know what I mean? So, and
I think Cignetti screwed it up for a lot of people too, because if you can go from Indiana, like the losingest, if that's a word, program, FBS program of all time. No one's lost more games in FBS football than Indiana. They were 3-9 and hire Kirk Cignetti, and they go to the playoffs. And now year 2, you thought they'd take a step back, and they're better. That changes everything. If you're talking about year 4 and you're still trying to rebuild, you're like, well, Cignetti did it in 1 year, so what the hell are you doing? I think there's a lot less patience now, and I think there's desperation happening, and you might be better hiring like a group of 5 coach, group of 6, whatever, and someone that you feel like they could have a lot of success. But there's pressure on these ADs, and they continue to get fleeced by agents, and that's just the way it's always been. USC's been fleeced by agents. I think so many schools have. I mean, you're paying guys tens of millions of dollars to not work. You're doing something wrong. But they're doing it all over the place. It's a very common thing right now. So,
and that happens with player agents too. I was having a conversation the other day where someone was talking to me about how agents who negotiate professional contracts, like athletic directors and college general managers, for the most part, they don't have experience negotiating contracts. So the agents are like, all right, here are terms, offering crazy terms that if it was a professional thing, they'd get back and the GM would say, what are you talking about? And people are saying, oh, yes, that's right. Like, they're taking advantage of these people who don't know what they're doing. And that has been the case here for a couple years. I think so. Just to put a bow on this, Ryan, I'm with you. It's not the right time, because I think the risk of falling on your face is way bigger than everything working out and USC being that Indiana team, and it just is perfect. Like, that rarely happens. That's probably one of one. Nothing is perfect in college football. Could they technically hire someone who would be an improvement over Riley? Sure. But, like, I think for the most part, last year on the road, notwithstanding, like, they do a nice job of beating the teams they should beat, which it's a low standard. It's not a standard that you want at USC, but it could be worse, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but I think your original point, that maybe I got off topic there, if things go crappy and you finish 7-5,
then, which I don't anticipate, though.
I don't think either. But like, if that happens, I think you're in a situation that you need to get support from boosters, and you need that cash infusion every year just to have a roster. And if the boosters are out on paying for the current coach, it makes it almost impossible. And then any sort of buyout is like worth it, because if you stick around and you can't field the roster, it's just going to be another year. So it's like the best time to do it, if you know you need to do it, is now. And I think a lot of these schools are doing that, ignoring that there's this prohibited, wall in the way of this buyout. But they're like, we can get around the buyout with money, but we need to get, the untenable thing is keeping this coach around. For like a James Franklin to be like one play in overtime from being the number one team in the country and the favorite to win the national championship, and like a couple weeks later, he's fired. It's like, I don't know, the bigger swing than that. Like we were talking about, USC's like could win out and go 10-2 and make the playoffs. And we're talking about what if they're 7-5. Swings happen, like it's crazy. Penn State was the talk of everything, and
they haven't won a Big Ten game.
Yeah, and they almost beat Oregon. This is like the pat myself on the back thing was after losing to UCLA, and they lost to Oregon and UCLA. So they're 0-2 in the Big Ten. I put them in our power rankings on the Podcast for Champions at 18, dead last in the conference. And some people are like, "Oh, that's hyperbolic" or whatever. But no, they haven't won they've looked terrible. Like they haven't won a Big Ten game yet. So. I was a little Nostradamus-y on that one, I would say.
You nailed it. But anytime you lose to a UCLA team that looked like they might go 0-12, I know they've bounced back. That I got that. I understood that.
OC Bodybuilders, he doesn't think, and this is an interesting, I don't know if you want to be talking about like this hypothetical stuff. They'll finish 8-4, 7-5 at worst. Riley's still not getting fired at 7-5 though, especially with good recruiting class. I would disagree with that.
And he could leave too.
Yeah, I think if yes, they put a lot of resources into this team, and I don't think the administration could handle a 7-5. Like they just can't. Like there was a lot of pressure on that Michigan game. They knew if they don't win that game, like it was going to be a slog trying to finish and getting some of these wins.
They feel like they've played all their cards in their hand.
Yes, I feel like they've made a bunch of moves, and it's like, okay, how do you? What else? What else can we do? So, yeah, it's and Brian. So the recruiting class thing is interesting. Brian says if Riley finishes 8-4 or worse, they're not keeping the recruiting class together. I think because it was a front-loaded recruiting class, there's like money paid. I don't think the record's going to matter as much of keeping guys together as far as that goes, because like these were sort of prepaid. You put these guys on layaway. I think a lot. I don't know how all the contracts work, but I think a lot of guys were paid for early before July, and things kicked over, and you had the rev share things. So I wouldn't worry about the record. Like you're thinking it was a fan record. Recruits don't think of it that way anyway. This is more about if they finish 7-5 and he gets fired, that changes a recruit's what's going on there, but. I don't look at it from a fan's point of view that recruits are disappointed that USC was 8-4. Like I don't think they couldn't give a crap. Like they don't know, they don't follow it like you do. Just understand that.
And what's interesting too, so much of this money was up front. If there is a firing or a change, I think there would be a chance some guys would stay for another coach.
Yeah, no, I 100%. Like that's not.
Wouldn't be everyone.
No,
but it's different now.
It is different, and. There are a lot of people,
and this class is really expensive. They've put a lot of money.
It's a lot into it. So, like, if you're not leaving because you've got a good deal. Like, you're like, hey, we'll get a new coach. All right, we'll figure that out. Now, I'm sure there's some people, but there's a lot of people, like, not named Lincoln Riley, that are involved in this recruiting class. So it's not just. I don't think it all falls apart because of that. But I think the biggest danger to the recruiting class would be a complete coaching change. Like, that's always disrupting. No matter what, but I wouldn't say 8-4, the recruiting class is going to fall apart. That's just my opinion, but I don't know if you feel differently, Connor.
No, I think even 7-5, if Riley stays, I don't think it takes a huge hit, maybe a guy here or there, but the money that's already been paid and the deals that have been signed, like that's significant. And that's a lot different than what USC was doing before. It's a lot different than what other programs have been doing before as well. Like USC was a little late to the game, but now it's totally changed, and money talks. That's a huge part of it, especially for the elite guys. And when they're locked in on these deals, USC could underperform. If the structure stays in place, I would have a hard time. Another player or a player in the class would say, hey, this isn't going to work out for me. When you get the money and your coaching staff and everyone who recruited you is still there, they're locked in.
Yeah. All right. So let's.
You know how we can avoid this whole conversation?
Win some freaking games. Win games. Just do it. Just win. Go on the road and win a game. I have no problem saying you're the head coach getting $11 million a year. Show some pride being on the road and go play well on the road. They haven't played well on the road, and that's disappointing. USC is a touchdown favorite on the road this weekend. Like, how much confidence do you have? I haven't seen them play well on the road. They've done well after buys, right? Give them credit there. But they haven't played well on the road. So you were out of practice yesterday. We kind of talked last week about some of the bye week stuff. Anything sort of standing out injury-wise, or just what's going on with this team that had another week off to sort of like lick its wounds and figure out the game plan against Nebraska?
Riley couldn't guarantee that the offensive line would be back to normal, even though Killian O'Connor and Elijah Page were out there. Chris and I talked on instant analysis. Page, because he dressed against Notre Dame and O'Connor didn't, feels closer to coming back than O'Connor does, and that would move Raymond back to left guard. Page goes to left tackle. Big General Reed stays at center. Lonnie Noah stays at right guard. Justin Tauanu to right tackle. So that would be pretty close to how they started the year, of course, with Killian not being out there. That's the one change. So we'll see, but Riley, as I said, couldn't guarantee that. A couple other guys were back. We didn't see two defensive linemen in the middle who we can ask about tomorrow to Lincoln if we don't see him again today. If they come out, we'll make a note of that in our notes and we can talk about it on instant, but that was something that stood out. So they're healthier, but at running back, they are what they are with King Miller and Brian Jackson. Offensive line is making some strides, but we'll see. Mayava's healthy. The receivers are healthy. Zacharias Williams is back in pads, so we'll see if he can play a little bit more here. Might be too late for him this year, but not really sure where things stand with him other than the fact that he has pads on for the first time in a while. Defensively, all the edge guys are good. Mentioned the two guys in the middle, so we'll see. Linebacker, everyone's healthy. Secondary, it's the same as it's been, so should have a good group out there.
Alex Graham, he's back.
He's
back. He's playing.
Lincoln Riley said they poured more reps into him and D. Reddick, so maybe one of those guys plays nickel, and that could move Kamari back to safety. So we'll see. I do expect some kind of a change. Maybe it's Jaden Walker starting over Desmond Stevens. Maybe it's Graham or Reddick getting a start, or maybe not starting, but playing a lot more, which would help free up stuff with Ramsey. I think that experiment with playing Gentry in the slot, like it was good against Michigan, not as good against Notre Dame. I felt like he was kind of limited against Notre Dame, so I don't know if that'll cause Lynn to make some changes, but I do anticipate some shakeups on defense, right? Doesn't there have to be?
I think you have to. Like, you're performing so poorly, and if you looked at Shotgun's, report afterwards about the positions and formations and play count, like snap count and all that stuff, I was a little surprised that, when USC did the 3 linebacker thing, they were really bad. And it was better in the nickel trying to stop Notre Dame's run. So you figured extra linebacker on the field would help, and it did not. It made it worse.
Yeah, that's what was so frustrating. You felt like you figured something out against Michigan, and then
Notre Dame exploits the hell
other
out of
way.
it.
Yeah, that was jarring. And that not to get back into it, but just for a second, like, when Lynn comes back and he doesn't go to Penn State, I think everyone goes to bed at night dreaming of USC. They don't think of stuff happening like that.
No. Terrible. All right. Well, why don't we do this? Let's take a quick break, unless you have something else, and we'll get to some questions. We got some emails and text, and there's some questions in the chat I've started to come back to. If you have more, if you're watching us live, you got questions in the chat, put them in there, and we'll try to get to them. But back in a minute, everyone. Alrighty, we're back here on the Peristyle Podcast. Ryan Abraham, Connor Morrissette, USCfootball.com. We love it. We love talking to you guys, and it's always great to hear from all of you, however you get a hold of us. So we got some emails and texts, and we'll get some chats too. I don't think we have any voicemails this week, But yeah, send us a voicemail, whatever. We'd love to hear from you. It's a lot of fun. Dexter, the Tucson Trojan, says, hey, Ryan and Triple Double. In 2023, Jimbo Fisher was fired from Texas A&M despite a massive $77 million buyout because of constant mediocrity. 2 years later, Mike Elko has them at number 3. They went on the road and dismantled LSU in Death Valley. We keep giving Riley more time, but isn't A&M a lesson we could learn from? Pay the buyout, hire the right guy, and move into the top 5. Thoughts? Dexter.
Another great example who we didn't bring up. So it goes back to what I was saying earlier. The likelihood that it's a home run isn't great. The likelihood that you fall on your face, those odds are probably better, but that's another example of how you never know, and going for it, making that choice, bringing in someone who would be more aligned with Jen Cohen and potentially Chad Bowden, because let's face it, both of those people were hired after Riley already got here. I do think there's something to be said for how that could impact the team in a positive way, but the risk is huge, so you never really know. It's a fascinating conversation.
No, and I think we see in the NFL where you spend all this money on a number 1 pick for your quarterback, and when do you have to cut bait? Is it going to work out or is not? And you move on and just try it again, and sometimes guys look back, like Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, all these guys that, Daniel Jones, that didn't work out in their first spot. And, there's other guys that never work out, but those guys get to the right situation and it works out well. Like sometimes you put a lot of resources into something and you trade it up to get this pick and it's just not working. And you got to cut bait and eat it. I mean, Denver's doing great, and they had to cut bait on Russell Wilson, and they got the biggest dead cap space in the.
Yes, but Lincoln Riley's better than Russell Wilson.
Yes, no, but if they go 7-5, I'm agreeing with what our friend in Tucson is saying here, that you can't afford. Yes, it's a prohibitive buyout, but I think you're there. It's showing that it's worse to stick around because you have to pay a lot of money. It's going to likely. I mean, every situation is different, but I think there's scenarios where this buyout is massive, but it's going to cost you more. The mistake was signing the contract. And in Jimbo's case, it was an extension. Now you're on the hook for it, but it's going to get worse unless if you just stick around because of the money, it's only going to get worse. And I think we've seen that. So I trust, like in Jen Cohen and the administration, to make the right call. And like I said, I don't think you don't want to do it this year. So just go win games. And you don't have to make any tough decisions. You don't want to go 7-5 and have to make a tough decision of, do we spend $70 million and get rid of this guy and then risk hiring someone new in this crazy cycle that's going on right now? Or do you survive another year and maybe thrive? And who knows? Like, they have good opportunities. So I just think it's really important that they win.
Jimbo went 5-7 in 2022 and then 6-4 in 2023, and they let him go. So 2 bad back-to-back years for the money he was getting paid. Is Lincoln Riley approaching that level of bad? I don't think so, but if the bottom falls out, 6-6, 7-5, then I could see it. But again, I don't see him going 7-5.
Yeah.
So.
Fatback says, don't fear the buyout. Yeah, I think that's what I want.
Easy for all of us to say.
Well, too bad. It's someone else's money you're spending, but the ADs are doing this too. Like, you're throwing all this money out there, and like, whoever hired this coach is usually the AD that they leave, and then some other coach has to deal with the mess. Jen Cohen didn't give him an $11 million a year guaranteed contract or whatever. And at the time, I had no problem with it because it's like you needed to make a big splash. But man, these contracts are so favorable towards the coaches. And if things don't go well and go poorly, the coaches are in a great spot still, and the schools are kind of effed. So, Texas A&M was kind of effed, got the money together, and now they're great. If you feel like you're in just a terrible, terrible spot with Riley, I don't think at this point, now you're at least 4 years in, that the money can be that big of a concern. This team is 13-11 in the last 2 regular seasons. Like, a 7-5 on, like, it can't be 3 of those in a row. It can't be 3 duds in a row. So they got to finish strong. I think it's really important to do that. And you don't have to make that crazy decision. James in the Facebook says, don't forget losing several recruits in the 2026 class. We mentioned this earlier, James. Like, just because they have a bad record, we don't think this class is going away. Like, it can't be terrible, but there's a lot of resources put into this class, and it's not just who the head coach is or whatever. There's money involved, and they're not fans. They're not like, oh, 8-4, that stinks, I'm not going there. Like, I don't think that's going to be the case. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. But if there is turnover with a coach, that could be. Brian says, this is a good one. Reminder, Rounders 101, fold the hand when you know it can't win. Same with coaching. Yes, I think at some point you don't want to throw good money after bad. Sometimes you just have to eat it. You don't want to wait, just because you're on the turn with this hand that you probably shouldn't be on with, and you know it's not going to win. Just get rid of it.
Well, let's see how the year ends, though, before we say that. And if they build some momentum, like that was the whole thing with last year. I didn't think they were going to be very good last year, but it would have been a successful season if they built some momentum. And they kind of did a little bit. If they beat Notre Dame, then Jade Mayava goes undefeated. Like, it's like, okay, I'm bought in. They've struggled down the stretch these last 2 years, especially that last year with Caleb. Last year, a little better. It's an opportunity here, even if they do lose to Oregon. They had the 3 losses. Like 9-3, I think, even
that'd be great
with some mistakes like that. That's awesome.
You can build
you get buy-in and like that. That would be monumental. Like, we're having this doom and gloom conversation today because I don't think either of us thinks they got a great shot at that. I think they certainly can, but we'll have to see. Like, let's not put the cart before the horse. I think it's too early right now. They're 5-2. If they were 2-5, then okay. Make all these moves, but they still have a chance here.
They do. They could still make the playoff. Why are you being so negative, Connor? I don't know what's going on. Just kidding. It's a weird day. So
it is.
So forgive us if we're doing whatever. But that's some reality there, Connor. Sir Eric of Troy texted in. This question is for both Ryan and Connor. Guys, as we continue to see problems that we didn't expect from Danton Lynn's defense, do you think if we saw Danton at a bar after he had enough to drink and not hold back, that he'd say that the problem with his defense is Lincoln Riley? Meaning Lincoln Riley consistently adds fabric softener to the strong detergent Lynn really wants to use. I'm not saying, I'm just saying it seems that no matter who the DC is, soft defenses are what you'll see from a team with Lincoln Riley as head coach. Maybe he is his own worst enemy. Please share your thoughts, Sir Eric of Troy.
The only thing I can think of is, what do the practices look like? Because if Lynn is going up against a USC offense that isn't the scout team and USC's offense is just running what it runs, does that get you prepared for the other teams on the schedule who everyone runs a spread offense these days? But you know what I'm saying, where Lincoln Riley has some very unique attributes to his offense that just looks a little bit different than some of these other schools. So is the preparation piece differently? Because I know Lynn's a genius. I know he knows football like the back of his hand. I know he's a good teacher. So I get the question from Sir Eric of Troy, and the only thing I can think of is you look back at what Riley's done historically on the defensive side of the ball. It's never really been good. So does it go back to how they practice?
Yeah. No, I agree. And one of the things that there's a correlation here for whatever reason. Like, the better an offense gets, a lot of times the harder it is for the defense to keep up. When USC's offense struggled more last year, there's more, chance for the defense to, like, it was more of a lower scoring kind of thing. It just seems like once offenses get better, it puts pressure on the other offenses to, like, try harder or do more, and then it puts more pressure on the defense. But when you're getting a bunch of stops on defense, your offense doesn't have to do as much. I don't know, maybe just like lower scoring games last year, the defense played better. Higher scoring games, the defense not playing as well. I'm not sure if there's a correlation there too, but
it's an interesting thought. I know what you mean. That's tough to quantify, but like, you look at Ohio State, best defense in the country, their offense isn't as I'm agreeing with you though. It's not as explosive. They've had some games where
they don't need to be.
Exactly. So it's an interesting conversation. It's a shame that we're here because I thought in year 2 with the guys that they had, it would be better.
It should be. This is from another Ryan, a text message we got. I think the Nebraska game might be the biggest test of Lincoln Riley's tenure at USC. He has yet to get a Big Ten road win. Well, he beat Purdue and he beat UCLA last year, but I don't count that. But anyway, and Nebraska is solid but beatable. The fans can understand a loss at Notre Dame or Oregon, but after 4 years of losses at Illinois and at Nebraska cannot be tolerated. Brian Kelly being fired for not making the playoff after 3 seasons at LSU and Kurt Cignetti's turnaround at lowly Indiana are reminders that USC should demand as much. Lose at Nebraska and Riley enters 2026 squarely on the hot seat. What say you? That's from Ryan. I mean, he could be on the hot seat this year if he loses Nebraska, but, we just talked about that. We're not going to talk about that anymore.
It's all about how they finish.
Yeah, you got to finish strong. But yes, it's expectations have to be high. You're getting paid like a top 5 coach. You need to act like a top 5 team, and USC isn't acting like that. Let's look at some of the questions that came in on the chat. I'll pull it up. SoCal Weddings says, with so many job openings in college this year, do you think expectations are too high for the big programs? Do you think there's more parity? Perhaps a 3-loss season, I think he means, isn't so bad.
Correct.
There's more parity.
Way more parity. A 3-loss season isn't so bad. The problem is 7-5, 6-6, and let's see if they have a 3-loss season this year.
Yeah, you're stacking bad seasons. So I think that's the problem.
Hey, and remember, though, they are ranked right now.
They're ranked. But, yeah, there is more parity, and I think you have to – I think it's a different thing, SoCal Weddings. It's weird talking to a person named SoCal Weddings, but whatever. If you are Alabama and you had the year you had last year, you didn't make the playoff, it's like the end of the world. But I think you have to understand it's like, okay, we're not going to be the Death Star every year. Now, Alabama can still pop up and be the Death Star, but there's so much parity, it's harder to do that every year. And there you got used to just doing it every year. There's going to be some 3-loss seasons, and maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. I think that's more of the situation. For USC, like Connor said, 6-6, 7-5, like you go 7-5 again, like that's not a 3-loss season. That's 3 shitty seasons in a row compared to USC standard. To have one of the highest paid coaches in the country, you can't go 6-6, 7-5, 7-5. Like that's just not acceptable. So I think there's a difference there. But yes, I think even Ohio State, like can Ohio State expect to be, winning the national championship or the playoffs every year? Like no, there's a lot of parity. Like Michigan can still get them, like they've got them the last few years. Indiana pops up. There's a lot of teams, and it's just like one year they might lose a couple of those games. They're not losing them this year, but maybe they do. And then they just don't make the playoff that year. Is it the end of the world? No, like all these other teams are pretty darn good. You just can't steamroll them all like you used to. There's just much more parity, I think, now. Eric says, can we shout out Nebraska for giving our band some great seats? Going to be a fun one.
Usually opposing teams stick the band way up high, so it sounds like they got better seats.
Yeah, Eric's in tune of what's going on in Lincoln. So thank you, Eric, for that stuff. Yeah, I could talk to the band people and see what happens. This is BHTS. I don't know. There's a lot of letters. What happens if USC loses Nebraska? Well, they'll be 5-3.
I don't think a whole lot changes in the moment.
It'll be. I mean,
but the board on our website will
go bananas.
Be not good.
Yeah, you go in another touchdown favorite on the road and lose. I think at that point you're like, okay, so the road woes are real. Nebraska's a decent team. They're not Oregon. So you're like now you have like, hey, you could win out 10-2. I don't think if you lose to Nebraska, there's any realistic chance that you're counting on, playing well and beating Oregon on the road. Like that's a game you have to play well, and maybe Oregon doesn't play as well. Like USC can't even get to the play well part on their side. So now you're looking, 8-4 being the ceiling, and if you lose to Nebraska, which is like, ugh, but you got to win, beat Iowa, beat Northwestern, who looks much better. Well, they're not great, but they've won some games, and UCLA won some games. So some perky teams. We thought Purdue was a perky team by like the eyeball test, but they're not winning games. I think Barry Odom's a good coach, but it's going to take some time. But we've seen Northwestern win games. We've seen UCLA win games. Like, they're perky because they're actually winning. And so that you're seeing teams that are winning, that's going to put pressure. That's a challenge for USC. So you don't want to lose this game and look at 8-4 being the best you could possibly do if you win out the rest of them that you think you should win. I think that's a problem.
And even Illinois has come back to life a little bit. Their schedule is hard, but they're 2-3 in the conference, 5-3 overall. USC made them look better than they are, I think, especially on that offense.
Yeah. Eric in the chat says, hey, Ryan and Connor, I hear what everyone's saying about Riley, but I think it should
be Lynn.
Be Lynn as defensive coordinator, who should be more on the hot seat. It's the D that hasn't been there, in my opinion. That's Eric in Georgia.
Makes sense. It's a unique take. Like, we're piling on Riley this show a lot, and Lynn has kind of been the scapegoat. I just think the issue is that Lincoln Riley's in charge of the whole thing, and the defenses haven't been very good in his whole tenure. So, yes, Lynn maybe is on the hot seat, but I don't know. I think that defensive staff is like, don't you think they're just good? And for whatever reason, something's not clicking. Like,
yeah.
I have a hard time thinking you could get a much better defensive staff. And so when you have that, doesn't that put even more on the head coach?
No, I think it does. I mean, I think that D'Anton Lynn would be successful somewhere else. So you got to figure out a way to make it.
I agree. That's a great point. I think he'd be successful somewhere else too.
Yeah. I think one last one. SoCal weddings. Let's see. Perhaps there's more parity, and 2 or 3 losses isn't bad. You make the NFL playoffs at 10-6, and you are seen as a success.
Well, that's just college football. That's
college
how it's always
different.
been.
Yeah. But I think you're right where Ohio State lost 2 games last year, one to their rival that wasn't very good, and they won the national championship. And that really wasn't possible before, so that's a little bit more NFL-like. You can't lose a bunch of games, but you can lose 1 or 2. Before, you couldn't trip up at all, hardly at all. And now you can. But you got to show, like in those other games, it's not just, they look like a freaking juggernaut after losing to Michigan. Like, you need to show that. Like, so bounce back from, like, when you lost Illinois and played like crap, and you go to Michigan Michigan comes to USC and you just pummel them. You're like, okay, that's what you need to keep doing. They needed to keep doing that the rest of the season, and people forget about the loss to Illinois. Then you lay an egg against Notre Dame, and you're like, okay, that's probably wasn't the exception. Maybe Michigan's the exception and not the rule. You needed that Michigan to be the rule. And I think to go out and get a good win against Nebraska, that's what you want the rule to be. But if you go and lay an egg again, you're like, all right, you're just not a very good team on the road, and probably just not a very good team in general.
It's a big game.
Huge.
It's a big game.
Huge game. Yes. All right. Well, I think that's it. Anything else you wanted to throw in before we go?
It was appropriate for us to talk about the coaching carousel stuff just because it's been so crazy. But I do think to put a bow on it, I already said we'd put a bow on it like 20 minutes ago, to put a bigger bow on it, a bow on a bow. They are 5-2. They are ranked. I know on paper it's a little sketchy, especially going at Oregon. That looks really challenging. But 9-3 is very much in play. And even 8-4, it's what we all thought at the beginning of the year. It's not where you want to be, but this year to me was all about showing progress. And just because the defense is backslid, that's not great. You have seen progress on offense. If they beat Nebraska, that's another example of progress. It's not perfect. It's not where you'd expect. It's not getting your money's worth. But progress was a very important part of this year, and a win on Saturday would show that, and that's significant to me.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Good words of wisdom there from our buddy Connor. Yeah, it's been a weird one. Coming off this bye week, just got to make it right. You make it right, everything's okay when you go and win a game. So just go win a game. That's all. That's all you got to do. Go win. And we'll see what they do. But we'll be there in Lincoln, Nebraska with our crew. Hopefully you guys can show up at Barry's starting at noon We will be hanging out for a few hours before we head into the game, do a little pre-tailgating, come have a drink with us, eat some lunch, whatever you want to do, and it'd be great to see everybody. So different meetup this weekend. It's Saturday, but I think a lot of USC fans are going to this game, so it should be fun. Nebraska fans, super accommodating and friendly, and they'll welcome you in there. I think you guys will have a good time. I think I went in like 2007, and it was great. I mean, USC just shellacked them that year, but people were still very friendly, and we'll see if there's some shellacking going on this weekend. But for Connor Morrissette, I am Ryan Abraham. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time.